Welcome one more day to space in Armonia. It's a lovely late afternoon. We are coming close to the evening and the birds keep singing. There are very nice colors. And I would like to speak about something very profound which has to do with our cosmic family. We belong to a particular group of souls that in turn belong to a particular spiritual source connected to the main source, what was known as the Father of Lights, the primordial monad. But before going into the subject, I would like to point that the previous video in which I appear with my dad had a very good welcoming, even though not all people in my family understood it. But in general, people outside my biological family like it and they were very touched by it. It's an opportunity to show both the lights and shadows. And obviously, some family members might not like the shadow part, but I didn't come here to hide anything, but to show where we have to evolve or transcend those shadow parts. And I think the video was very in tune with that. Because we have to work as a family. The idea of family is being destroyed nowadays precisely because the adversary makes humanity weak by destroying the collective work and making people isolated. So let's go deep into the idea of spiritual work from a collective family point of view. And I'm going to do it having a walk because it's a very nice environment. Even the trees are teaching us about the connectivity. I have spoken about this in other videos when I mentioned the subject of sister souls, twin souls. Now we have to understand why there is a connection of souls. I understood this over more than 25 years of research. In the 40 years I have been existing in this present life, I went through many different stages, some of which were very confusing because I met other people, even in dreams and visions, which mirrored aspects of myself. And I didn't understand why I was so touched by them in a sense, until I realized they were aspects of my spiritual self, so to say. Recently a person asked me if it's possible that one soul inhabits several people, several persons, or different parts of one soul inhabit one person. All these possibilities are true, but we have to understand the structure, why this is possible. Because obviously there can be many relations, but we need to understand why this phenomena takes place and why we can be shocked when this understanding is not present. I'm not the only one that came to these conclusions. More than 100 years ago, a man known as Frederick Myers realized we come here in soul groups to fulfill a particular idea of the divine. The divine has many ideas, and each one of those ideas are like spirits that somehow infuse a group soul, as he said. It's very interesting because this viewpoint is present in Hebrew wisdom as well. The Holy One has thoughts, and we are in the process of fulfilling the thoughts, ideas of the Holy One. And the spirits remind me very much of what the Master called Holy Spirit. I will send you the Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit of truth as a helper. And this Spirit is precisely what gathers us in soul groups. So the ancient idea of the angel or the messenger is somehow fitting with this viewpoint, because we belong to an angel. Even the Master said, don't despise these little ones, because their angels in heaven are contemplating the face of my Father who is in the heavens. So we have a spirit source, which is a monad, and in my view this means we not only belong to a particular soul group, which we can call Oversoul, but also to a particular spiritual source, which we can call a specific monad. Each specific monad would be connected to the primary cosmic monad, which is the cosmic mind, the primordial father of lights, which is emanating the primordial intelligence known as the sun in interaction with the cosmic space light, the womb, the mother, the cosmic mother, and the union of father, mother, and son is precisely the primary monad, the cosmic intelligence, which has a body of diffusion or expansion. This body of expansion begins in the so-called womb of the father, because he engenders many different spirits that express the son as the body of the son. The son has body, which is the collectivity of spirits, and a head. And each one of us belongs to a particular aspect of the sun. This is the difference between ourselves and the head of the sun, which is fused with the Father. I and the Father are one. And we can also compare this to our solar plexus. We have 12 nodules in our solar plexus. In the same way, we can think of 12 monads, which would constitute the so-called Holy Spirit, which is multiple. It infuses different soul groups depending on the idea to be developed. So each soul group would be contained in one spirit monad, which in turn contains thousands of oversouls. Let's say each one of the 12 monads in the cosmic solar plexus contains at least 12,000 oversouls. That would make the 144,000 sealed ones that are mentioned in the book of Apocalypse. So those are not just people, but soul groups, which in turn can include hundreds or even thousands of souls. We would be speaking of millions of souls. Obviously, this makes more sense than thinking in just 144,000 people that are going to be saved. It doesn't make sense. Each one of us is in a process of soul making, in an oversoul. Oversoul is a term coined by Emerson, one of the Romantic poets. And there was another poet called John Keats. And as he said, the earth is not a veil for tears, but for soul making. We are establishing connections, understanding how we are related to others and to the holy source, bringing back all the scattered members of our particular Oversoul family, but also others, because we can help souls that are not in our particular soul group. Why not? We belong to a cosmic family within which there are sub-families. And obviously, those who belong to our same soul family share certain characteristics. We can work together in a closer way, inspiring ourselves in ways which are unbelievable sometimes. This is one of the reasons why I was shocked, because I met other souls in dreams and I didn't know they belong to my same soul group experience. I even met some of these people in other countries, and it was very confusing at first because I didn't understand in those years. And it took me many years, at least 25 years, to understand all this more in depth, because when you don't have a clear view of the origin of certain phenomena, you tend to interpret it in a very different way. You can even make certain assumptions which are not true. And having an idea of belonging to a soul group changes the whole situation, because you no longer feel yourself completely isolated. You understand, you work with others, even if you don't know them personally, but you can even sense who they are or where they are. You can even see them in different situations, even if you don't get to know them personally in depth because of the situations of life. But we have to trust in this process of gathering, which will take place eventually, because as we evolve, we somehow are reintegrated in our particular Oversoul group, which is meant to fulfill a particular idea of the Holy One, so that everything can be returned and reintegrated into the cosmic monad in total connection with the whole, because we are exploring particular aspects of the divine conscience. We are the consciousness of the Holy One knowing itself, something which is beautiful. This is very different than thinking we are the Holy One or the Absolute Being, as some teachings claim. I am God, things like this, that distort completely the message of the Master. You in me, and I in the Father, he said. Because he understood, he was connected to the primary source. He was the Son, the primary loving intelligence that emanates from the Father. And obviously, this intelligence spreads in a collective body. That distinction was to some extent established by Frederick Myers as well. I will leave some quotes in the blog. I don't know when, but I will also publish some of the answers I gave to a person that was asking me about certain processes. He asked me if it's possible that one soul inhabits two different bodies. And obviously that's possible from the Oversoul point of view. And he also asked if it's possible that two different souls inhabit one body. And that's also possible, but through other process known as Ibur. Now the Ibur is when one soul fragment is somehow gestated within another soul. Let's say a person dies, but some aspect of his soul goes to inhabit within the astral body of another person for a definite period of time, not during all the time. And that soul fragment can play the role of guide and learn through that other person. This is similar to reincarnation, but it's not the same, because it's not incarnated and not during all the time. And another thing is that that soul fragment belongs to the same soul root than the soul of that person. So in a sense they are the same soul because they belong to the same soul group. They are growing within that possibility of sharing one body of experiences. I'm going to go down to explain more this and keep walking. We have to understand that in this process of self-discovery, we are expanding our understanding of the divine. And this is what the Holy One wants. In a sense, he has a profound nature that is self-ignorant. It wants to give itself fully. The loving will wants to expand and becomes a cosmic consciousness, but at the same time wants to seed itself within the hearts of millions of souls, so that he is the unknown that becomes fully known within the heart and minds of the souls that are learning and going through a process of self-discovery. This is, I think, the most beautiful story ever told. We can call it the evolution of the divine, because he is not just an entity somewhere governing over all the others. He becomes millions. He is one and multiplies within the heart of everyone. And there is no limit in this. This is a process that cannot end, because the Holy One is unfathomable in itself and it cannot be depleted. It's an infinite seed, the limitless one, Ein Sof, as it's known in Hebrew wisdom. And the light of the Ein Sof is Ein Sof Aur. So this is the question of how we become aware of that which is limitless and somehow wants to live through us, expand through us, integrating ourselves into his absolute kingdom, realm. That's why we are working in connectivity to understand even the darkness, because we came to this world to gather the scattered fragments of ourselves in situations which sometimes are very painful. But the greatest meaning is somehow found in these conditions, because the greatest love crosses darkness. So, little by little, several researchers have been putting the pieces together. And I mentioned Frederick Myers, Robert Monroe as well. He spoke of the I-there cluster in contrast to I hear. In his books concerning astral travel, he spoke about an intelligence that turned out to be himself in a spiritual source, even though he doesn't speak about the master, Yeshua. He emphasizes the importance of transcending belief systems, which I think is important, and he's speaking about the Oversoul, I think, his Oversoul, and he tells about how his wife belongs to one of the extensions of his own self-source, his either cluster, which is a very interesting way of expressing this idea. I think he was right in many respects, and the only thing missing in his message is the connection with the Holy One and how each spirit of the Holy Spirit is infusing each Oversoul group with a particular idea, so that there is a development and evolution, and we can go back to the absolute kingdom where there are no belief systems anymore. There are no religions, no shadows, no ignorance. We are humbly sharing ourselves fully. And there are stages of this. Frederick Myers speaks of 7 stages, which I think are very accurate. In the first 3, we are very much like stones, plants, animals. In the 4th, we begin to transcend the physical senses with the mind. And in the 5th, we begin to get to know other souls from within, our shared memories. We realize we belong to a soul group. And in the 6th stage, we somehow finish our soul mission, which is particular to our soul group. And in the 7th stage, we go back to oneness with the Absolute, in connection with the whole. We are not just an idea, but an idea integrated in the whole. We don't even lose total individuality, because we are personality units within a whole idea. And our personality is somehow integrated in that wholeness. This is a very profound and beautiful idea. It's astonishing that this was already communicated more than 100 years ago in modern language, because I think all this is expressed in the New Testament when the Master said, "You in me, and I in the Father." He is integrating our souls. With patience, you will save your souls. And by becoming aware of our connection with the Holy Spirit and the Son and the Father, we complete the process. This is why when we communicate with the Divine, we do it in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the spiritual monad source to which our spiritual Oversoul belongs. And that Holy Spirit guides us in direction of the holy idea we have to complete. We are a perspective of the Holy One. I hope I made all this clear. Tell me if this was helpful to you. I don't want to make the video any longer. I will probably expand the subject in other occasions, but for now, let's digest all this information and keep cleaning the mind and the heart to express the infinite love and modified life, integral conscience, and deep blissful serenity.